Ladies and gentlemen, Primetime CP23 here, back with my first video in a while. Today we're going to be looking at a couple of Death's Breath farming builds, two different variations of multi-shot. First up, we're going to be taking a look at a Sage's set build. In this case, we are going to be mixing the 3-piece bonus of the Sage's set, which increases your Death's Breath drops by 1, and the Natalia's Vengeance 6-piece set bonus, which is basically going to buff your damage by 3,500% and decrease your damage taken for 10 seconds after casting Reign of Vengeance, which you're going to be doing a lot. And then you're going to be doing this a lot. So with this build, we were able to run through about 10 rifts on Torment 10, and we were able to achieve 450 Death's Breaths. So obviously that is right at 45 Death's Breaths per rift, but again, that's on T10. On Torment 10, we're getting 450 Death's Breaths in 1 hour. Once you have better rolled gear, because I don't really have terribly great Natalia's gear, just to be honest with you. The gloves aren't bad. Other than that, it's all a little shaky. But we'll talk more about the gear here in just a minute. But that 450 Death's Breaths did include 1 blue goblin and a goblin pack, or a goblin rift, however you want to word it, which obviously are going to skew the numbers upward. The goal of these two builds is to see how many, rather of this video, is to see how many Death's Breaths we can get in 1 hour. Obviously shooting for 1,000 just because it's a fun number to shoot for. So this build, like I said, we're using the 6-piece Natalia's bonus, and we're getting that with the crossbow, Natalia's ring, Natalia's gloves, Natalia's chest piece, or cloak rather, and Natalia's pants. Just of note, we are also using the 2 pieces of the Sage's set. There are 3 pieces of the Sage's set total, and you can either run, well, there's a little bit of flexibility here. Gloves are the best Natalia's piece that I have, so I had to run the gloves, so I'm obviously running the helm and boots of Sage's set. Because you do have to get the full 6-piece bonus of Natalia's, I am wearing the ring and the crossbow. That's going to give me 5 pieces. And then, of course, a Ring of Royal Grandeur in the cube gets me the full 6-piece bonus. As for other gear, we do have a Dead Man's Legacy, which is going to buff our multi-shot damage, and multi-shot is gonna hit enemies twice when they're below 60% health. Pairing up with that in the cube, we've got a Yang's recurve bow, so that multi-shot attacks 50% faster and has its damage increased by 200%. So that's 200 plus 190. That's 390% additional multi-shot damage. In addition to the 15% on our boots, the 11% on our helm, and I have no idea where the last piece is. Oh yeah, 14 extra percent on the quiver. Then of course we've got Nemesis bracers, and we are using a Hellfire amulet with the tactical advantage passive. We'll talk more about passives here in just a minute when we go over the skills. As for legendary gems, we're using Zay's Stone of Vengeance, Boon of the Hoarder, and Bane of the Trapped. just for testing purposes, we used the same gems on both builds. We are using an Obsidian Ring of the Zodiac along with Natalia's Reflection and, of course, a Ring of Royal Grandeur in the cube. Of course, if you get a better Ring of Royal Grandeur than your Obsidian Ring, wear that instead. And then a Pride's Fall to reduce your resource costs after you haven't taken damage for 5 seconds. And finally, we are using a Gold Wrap for the additional tankiness. As for skills, this is where it's going to get a little fun. So both builds that we're going to be taking a look at are using Multi-Shot with the Wind Chill rune, Shadow Power with the Shadow Glide rune. That's my gotta go fast button. And then we are using Bat Companion on both builds. And we are using Vault Tumble on both builds. The differences come with preparation. In this build, we need to get back our hatred, and we don't really care about our discipline. So we are using Prep Punishment, which is going to restore hatred. And we are using Rain of Vengeance with the Dark Cloud rune. This is negotiable. Personally, I just like Dark Cloud. It doesn't really make much of a difference because Multi-Shot is doing all of your damage. Rain of Vengeance is just what procs your damage buff. And then, of course, we're using Bat Companion to also give us back hatred. So basically, what we're doing is we're throwing Rain of Vengeance up, we're spamming Multi-Shot, popping Bat Companion, popping Prep Punishment, and then hoping we hit enough enemies that it's resetting the cooldowns with our Obsidian Ring of the Zodiac. Ideally, you'd have a little bit more resource cost reduction than I have. I'm sitting at 56% when we are standing still, so not counting, so counting Pride's Fall. I think realistically, with this build, you probably want to be in the neighborhood of 65% resource cost reduction. And oh, by the way, we're just using the Unhallowed Essence Shoulders because shoulders are an open spot. I just happen to have decent shoulders from my Unhallowed Essence set. So, as I said, just in summary, we did run 10 rifts with this particular build. Now, our second build is, of course, going to be Unhallowed Essence Multi-Shot. Notice the key difference in the helm is that we are now using a reduced cooldown gem instead of a Royal Topaz, which reduces resource cost reduction. Gotta have all the RCR possible in Natalya's, so we are using a Topaz in that build. As for Unhallowed Essence, you've probably seen the build many, many times. For the particular version I'm running, I've got a Dawn, Gold Wrap, and Avarice Band in the cube. We're of course wearing a Yang's Recurve and Dead Man's Legacy, the full 6-piece bonus of Unhallowed Essence. Personally, I feel I have better Unhallowed gear than I do Natalya's. But what are you going to do? As for rings, we are also wearing a Convention of Elements and a Stone of Jordan. You could also use Focus and Restraint, but if you do that, you have to use a generator. We're not using a generator. Instead, we have Shadow Power on our bar, which we just talked about the skills. As I mentioned, same gems, same Paragon and everything. We are using Krelm's Buff Belt, which is pretty negotiable. I like it for the additional run speed. Of course, if you'd prefer, you could also wear something like a Witching Hour or you could always even wear a gold wrap and put either a Pride's Fall or a Frostburn in the cube. And finally, the skills, the passives, before we take a look at the numbers for Unhallowed Essence. So for this build, discipline is extremely important, so we are using preparation with invigoration, which is going to permanently increase max discipline rather than punishment. That gets us up to 92 discipline, including getting discipline on our bow, our quiver, our Stone of Jordan, and our chest piece. So, and then of course instead of Rain of Vengeance, we're just using Vengeance with the Seethe rune, which is going to increase our Hatred regeneration. So for the passives in the Unhallowed Essence set, since I did forget to talk about it in the Natalya's part of the video, we're using Perfectionist, which is pretty negotiable. You don't really need Awareness. If you're playing hardcore, maybe run Awareness instead. But I just like Perfectionist because it's very important to keep up discipline as much as you can. So, it's not bad to go ahead and have it. Then we're using Cull the Weak for additional damage against slowed enemies. Multi-shot is going to slow enemies, or rather chill enemies. Then we're using Archery for an 8% damage buff. And Ambush, so that we're dealing 40% additional damage to enemies above 75% health. Basically, we're going to one-shot everything. And then on our Hellfire Amulet, we do have Tactical Advantage. So anytime you use Vault, Shadow Power, or Smokescreen, you're going to gain 60% movement speed for 2 seconds. Ideally, you'd have something more like Blood Vengeance or Steady Aim, but Tactical Advantage is good, and it rolled Ancient with cold damage on it, so I kind of stuck with it. For the Natalya's build, the passives are ever so slightly different, as we're running Blood Vengeance and Steady Aim, because we don't care about discipline in the Natalya's build. Both builds are going to be running Nemesis Bracers. These are the Nems I use when I run Impale and need Nems. So, that's why they have lightning damage on them. But, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it. Well, I suppose you probably want to know how we did with Unhallowed Essence. So, in conclusion of this video, with the Unhallowed Essence set, we were able to run 14 rifts in 1 hour, and we got about 500 DBs. Honestly, I'm not positive what I started at, but I know it was roughly 500. So, and also with Unhallowed Essence, we did get 2 blue packs, or I'm sorry, 2 blue goblins, but no packs, no Goblin Rift. So, the difference to me is basically, what is your priority? Are you wanting to run fast rifts? Or are you wanting to run more slightly slower rifts, but get more out of it? With the Unhallowed Essence set, we ran 14 rifts on T13, and we got around 500 death's breaths. So in an hour, that is around 50 more death's breaths. It doesn't seem like a lot, and it may not be. Personally, I was really excited to make this video because I wanted to see what Natalya's could really do in a speed setting. And this recording really is making me think there's no point. You may as well just play Unhallowed Essence. run more rifts in the same amount of time, get roughly the same amount of death's breaths per hour, and get way more keys, way more gold. I was at a little over 3 billion gold when I started this testing. 2 hours later, I'm over 4 billion. So, I mean, either way, you're going to be getting a lot of gold. A lot of crafting materials. So, that's going to do it for today's video. If you enjoyed it, please make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, keep running multi-shot, because it's fun. I'm out.